Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Supervisor Brandow.
Here.
Supervisor Magzik.
Here.
Supervisor Mendez.
I'm here.
Supervisor Pacheco.
Here.
Chairman Quintero.
Here.
All present. Thank you.
Welcome to the Tuesday, June 20th, 2023 meeting of the Fresno County Board of Supervisors. We'll begin today's meeting with the invocation and flag salute. This morning, the invocation will be led by Pastor Jim Franklin, who basically needs no introduction. And he is a pastor at the Cornerstone Church in downtown. And one of the things that the pastors and the church do for our community, serving the entire Fresno County, I want to thank him for that, is he brings in this organization called the Convoy of Hope to distribute food to all people throughout Fresno County. And it's always a huge success. You just see truckloads and truckloads of food that come in serving the neediest in our community. And with that, Pastor Franklin, would you please come forward and lead us in the invocation and the flag salute?
Thank you, Chairman Quintero, members of the Board of Supervisors. Thank you for the invitation. You'd think I'd know to turn a microphone on, wouldn't you? Thank you for the invitation, and let me just extend one to join us on July the 2nd at the Big Fresno Fairgrounds for our Celebrate America event, free to the public, fireworks show, skydivers from Fresno State, and car show, and it's all free, so come join us for that. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day you've given us here in the valley. Thank you for the beautiful weather, Lord, and for the rain that we have received. So, Lord, now we ask for your guidance today. Thank you for the men that serve on this Board of Supervisors. We pray that you would bless them, protect them, keep them in health, grant them wisdom, Lord, in the decisions that they make. We give you all the praise and the honor for it. In the name of Jesus, amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. At this time, we will move on to item number 1 and approval of the agenda. Are there any comments from the board members at this time?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, item 5 is deleted and will return to a date uncertain. Item 5 is deleted from your regular calendar and will return at a later date.
Thank you, so noted. With that, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
We now move to item number 2, approve consent agenda item numbers 19 through 87. Included with this consent is the revised item 44 that was distributed last Friday and posted online. Item 44 was revised.
These matters are routine in nature and are usually approved by a single vote. Are there any members that would like an item removed from the consent? Okay, I would like to pull item number 85, and simply it is to register a no vote. Are there any members of the public that would like an item removed for discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 2.1, Supervisor Brandow, turn it over to you. You'll present item 2.1.
Thank you, Chairman Quintero. So this item is about supporting the City of Fresno's effort to get $250 million from the state of California for infrastructure in downtown Fresno. They had been on making progress in that direction, and last week the legislature chopped down the number from $250 million to $50 million. However, that does go before the governor, and the governor can still push for the full amount or some other amount. So I thought that since we work down here downtown Fresno. We're invested in this area, and we're even talking about remaining down here for many decades. I thought it would be helpful if we supported $250 million worth of infrastructure. So this request this morning is for us to authorize a letter signed by all of us to be sent to the governor and all of the elected bodies that need to see that letter. So that's what this item is about, and I would entertain any conversation before I make a motion or hear from the public if that's.
Any comments from the board? Supervisor Magzik.
Yeah, just one. Paul, have you had an opportunity to maybe reach out to Georgianne and let her know that this is something that's on our agenda? Make sure that, I assume they want the 50 plus $200 million for infrastructure funding. So I can completely support this. I think downtown does need significant investment in sewer, water, streets, and other infrastructure in general, since a lot of that infrastructure is over 100 years old. So I just wanted to make sure, though, we're not doing anything that maybe would be against plans that the city has.
I haven't talked to Georgianne directly about this, but I'm aware through their advocate. So Paul Yoder works closely with the advocate that the city uses, so we're very aware of the approach that they're taking. Right now at the state, the way they've tried to, when this went back to the legislature, the way they've tried to couch this by reducing the amount is suggesting that, well, Fresno may still get $250 million, but it'll be over several years by saying 50, but there's no guarantee of that. And so by getting it all in 1 year, there's a better chance this money actually will stay within Fresno County. So our advocates are coordinating, ensuring that we're doing something that would be beneficial to the city.
Thank you.
There's also a report that the city of Fresno made when Mayor Autry was serving, and a consultant company was hired to do a needs assessment of the whole downtown area. The number one issue was the infrastructure because of its age, and that was, they even talked about water feature being installed, but the first thing that had to be done was the infrastructure with the water and sewers being so old, and it extended all the way actually toward the Tower District for those needs. And they still, I'm sure they still have a copy of that report, but the costs were just way out, and so you can imagine what the costs are now. So I think it's really important to try and get it, maybe some language in the letter to try and get it all at once.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The letter does request the full amount, but, at this point, it's going to be at the governor's discretion. He's got multiple people talking to him about this from all different angles, and he can go the full amount, or he can make it somewhere between 50 and 250 million. But I just wanted to let him and others were supportive of these efforts.
A copy of the letter that we sent, you might be, may want to do that, is send it to past Mayor Ashley Swearingen, because I know she was in a lot of those discussions in Sacramento and trying to get that money here, because and she's an appointee of the governor, I believe, on a couple boards, so she would have some access to him.
Okay, that makes sense. You can do that. And Supervisor Magzik, I did, I texted a message showing that support for this letter to the mayor, and he said thank you. But I haven't had a conversation with him about it.
Any other comments from the board? Okay. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion in a second to approve.
I'll make the motion to authorize the Board of Supervisors to execute this letter to support.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 3.
We now move to item number 3 under Administrative Office. Approve a recommended budget for the period between July 1st, 2023 and the adoption of the fiscal year 23-24 final recommended budget.
Good morning, Chairman Quintero, members of the board. Paul Nerlin, your County Administrative Officer. In a moment, Greg Renke, Assistant CEO in our office, is going to walk you through the temporary budget. As you know, we're in the process of working on the recommended budget for this next fiscal year, which will come to you in budget hearings on September 11th. as we prepare for that, I just want to comment that we're certainly dealing with some of the inflationary costs that all of our community is dealing with. We're also looking at some uncertainty within the state budget. Greg will speak briefly to that as we prepare for that, but today's action is simply a temporary budget to bridge between now and the budget hearings on September 11th. So, Greg?
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Greg Renke with the Administrative Office. This item comes to you each year at the last meeting of the fiscal year. The recommended action will approve a recommended budget for the period of July 1st, 2023 to the time of the adoption of the final recommended budget in September. This will provide the necessary appropriations for county operations to continue until the adopted budget is approved. Budget hearings are scheduled for September 11th, 2023. Having budget hearings in September has been in place since fiscal year 18-19. Previously, they were done in June. Having budget hearings in September allows for the closing of the previous year's fiscal year books and allows us to know the actual fund balance available for the upcoming budget year. The state budget has also been adopted, so you know all the impacts that need to be addressed in the county budget. You also know the actual assessed value, which becomes available at the end of June. This year's assessed value is based upon growth through January 1st, 2023. This number is significant in that it comprises approximately 80% of total discretionary revenues. In addition, approximately 10% of the discretionary revenues comes from sales tax. Although we are still up over 2% year-to-date from last fiscal year, for the first time, the quarter that covered December through March, which is received by the county March through May, was approximately 10% below last fiscal year. Given the uncertainty of the economy and the slowing down of the housing market, a conservative approach for the fiscal year 23-24 budget is imperative to put the county in the best position to address potential budget shortfalls in future fiscal years. This is especially true given light of the governor's proposed budget. Although the governor's proposed 23-24 state budget does not have significant impacts to county departments, the budget had to address a minimum of a $31.5 billion shortfall. This shortfall was addressed through spending reductions or delays. Approximately $6.3 billion were delays that pushed these costs down to future fiscal years. There was shifts from primarily from the general fund to special revenue funds and bonds. That was about $9.1 million. And there was also increases in revenue projections. Another important factor is the state budget assumes an additional $42 billion in revenue receipts will be received from state income taxes that were delayed after the state issued an extension for tax returns to October for counties affected by the atmospheric river storms earlier this year. Anything short of those revenue estimates will just add to that deficit. The Legislative Analyst's Office indicates that the revenue projections used in the May revise are plausible but optimistic. They indicate that they roughly project that there's a 2/3 chance that those revenue projections will come in below the May revision estimates. Given the state budget concerns, there could be mid-year or future year state budget cuts to the county if revenue projections are not met. That concludes my presentation. One thing I do want to add is that, you know, there was some discussion regarding some delays in payments to counties. After looking at that, although that has been done in the past, based on talking with Paul Yoder, our advocate, and looking at available documentation, that has not occurred so far this year, and we have not heard anything about that from the county's perspective.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the board? You're good? Okay. Or do we have any comments from the public? Okay. Sounds like you're good, made a good report then. Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve this item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item number 4, Mr. Nerland.
Greg is going to stay at the podium for a very brief TEFRA hearing, so I'll let Greg introduce this item.
Item number 4, conduct a public hearing under the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, TEFRA, and the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended regarding the issuance of one or more series of revenue bonds for a family health care network, a California nonprofit public benefit corporation, an organization described in Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986.
Good morning again, Greg Rankin with the Administrative Office. The item before your board this morning is to conduct a public hearing under the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, also known as TEFRA, regarding a request from the California Municipal Finance Authority for the benefit of Family Health Care Network. This is regarding the issuance of $40 million in revenue bonds, of which $14 million is within Fresno County. This is going to be to finance two 15,000 square foot health centers located, one in Reedley and one in Selma. TEFRA requires a public hearing be held by the governing body of the jurisdiction in which the projects are located, and that the governing body approve the proposed financing. Family Health Care Network has asked the California Municipal Financing Authority be the issuer of the tax-exempt financing. California Municipal Financing Authority is a joint powers authority formed to assist local governments, nonprofit organizations, and businesses with the issuance of both taxable and non-taxable debt. The debt to be issued by CMFA will be the sole responsibility of the borrower, and the County of Fresno will have no financial or legal obligation or responsibility in regard to the repayment of the debt. The county will also bear no cost in the issuance of the proposed debt. The county will receive a prorated share of about 25% of the issuance fee, which is estimated to be about $11,000. It should be noted that the resolution that is included in the recommended action requires your board approve the issuance of the bonds in order to satisfy the public approval requirements as required by the Internal Revenue Service. Debt Advisory heard this item on June 16th, 2023, and is recommending your board approve this item. And that concludes my presentation.
Any comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, do we have any comments from the public? Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve this item.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item number 5, clerk.
As mentioned, item number 5 was continued, deleted, will return to a date uncertain, so that takes you to item number 6.
Okay, item number 6.
Under Public Works and Planning, conduct public hearing to consider all oral statements and all written protests made or filed by any interested person concerning annual assessment on real property for fiscal year 23-24 for street lighting services, open space maintenance, and public right-of-way landscape maintenance costs in County Service Area Number 34, Zone D, Renaissance at Bella Vista, and approve and adopt resolution approving and levying an annual assessment on real property for fiscal year 23-24 under Chapter 3 of Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 and the Renaissance of Bella Vista Lighting, open space and landscape maintenance for street lighting services, open space maintenance, and the public of right-of-way landscape maintenance in County Service Area 34, Zone D, Renaissance at Bella Vista, which includes 106 residential parcels.
Good morning.
Good morning, board members. Elena Cotta, Senior Staff Analyst with the Department of Public Works and Planning. The item before you today is a public hearing for levying the annual assessment that the property owners passed through a ballot proceeding and was approved by the board on December 5th, 2017 for County Service Area 34D, Renaissance at Bella Vista, for street lighting services, open space maintenance, and public right-of-way landscape services. Under current law, a procedure must be followed by the county to levy annual assessments. Because the assessment described in this report is not increased as provided in Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972, the procedural requirements of Proposition 218, including the provision of printed protest ballots are not applicable. At the conclusion of staff's presentation and after addressing any questions the board may have, the public portion of the hearing should be opened by the board and testimony received from those here today wishing to address the board. After closing the public portion of the hearing, the board may adopt a resolution confirming the annual assessment either as originally proposed or as changed by the board. This concludes my presentation, and I am happy to address any questions that the board may have.
Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, I will now open the public portion of this hearing. Any member of the public wishing to address the board or verbally protest these proceedings may do so now. Okay. Seeing none, with that, I will entertain a motion in a second to close the public portion of this hearing.
I'll move for staff's recommendation and also close the hearing on this item.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? Seeing none. The motion is approved and the public portion of this hearing is now closed.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion and a second to approve the recommended action number 2?
Yes, I'll make that motion for staff's recommendation.
Okay, we have motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
We now move to item number 7, under Public Works and Planning, conduct public hearing to consider all oral statements and all written protests made or filed by any interested person concerning the annual assessment on real property for fiscal year 23-24 for operation and maintenance of Tenaya Park and County Service Area 2, Tenaya Estates, and approve and adopt resolution approving and levying the annual assessment for operation and maintenance for fiscal year 23-24 under Chapter 3 of the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 in the Tenaya Park Assessment District and County Service Area number 2, which includes 142 residential parcels.
Okay.
Okay, and good morning, board members. Elena Cotta, Senior Staff Analyst with the Department of Public Works and Planning. The item before you today is a public hearing for levying the annual assessment that the property owners passed through a ballot proceeding and was approved by the board on June 17th, 2014 for County Service Area number 2, Tenaya Park, for park maintenance services. Under current law, a procedure must be followed by the county to levy annual assessments. Because the assessment described in this report is not increased as provided in the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972, the procedural requirements of Proposition 218, including the provision of printed protest ballots, are not applicable. At the conclusion of staff's presentation and after addressing any questions the board may have, the public portion of the hearing should be opened by the board and testimony received from those here today wishing to address the board. After closing the public portion of the hearing, the board may adopt a resolution confirming the annual assessment either as originally proposed or as changed by the board. This concludes my presentation, and I am happy to address any questions that the board may have.
Okay. Are there any board members who have questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, I will now open the public portion of the hearing. Are there any members of the public wishing to address the board verbally or protest these proceedings may do so now. Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion and a second to close the public portion of this hearing?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The public portion of this hearing is now closed. Is there a motion and a second to approve recommended action 2?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve recommended action number 2.
Okay. First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8, clerk.
We now move to item
Thank
number
you.
8, under Public Works and Planning, conduct public hearing and receive written protests submitted prior to close of such public hearing from property owners receiving water service from County Service Area 30 El Porvenir on a proposed for annual increases in the water service fees for surface and for groundwater to be paid by such water users of the CSA 30 Community Water System beginning July 1st, 2023, and continuing through and including June 30th, 2028 pursuant to California Constitution, Article 8D, Section 6. Upon completion of the public protest hearing, approve Action A. Additional direction needed for B and C, or D. A, if the Board of Supervisors finds that there is not a majority protest against such proposal to increase in the water service fees, Board may adopt a resolution authorizing such increases in the water service fees for CSA 30 El Provenir beginning July 1st, 2023, and continue through and including June 30th, 2028. And B, if the Board finds that there is a majority protest and adopts resolution described in proposed action A, the Board should direct department staff to utilize revenue to fully authorize and pay off negative balance in the amount that is stated in the report supporting this proceeding over the term established for this rate increase, which is through June 30th, 2028, and at the end of such term to assist county's engineer in preparing appropriate proposed new water service fees for the next rate setting period for CSA 30 water service fees. C, if the Board finds there is not a majority protest and adopts resolution described in proposed action A, the Board should direct department staff to bring the subsequent Proposition 218 proceeding to set water service rates for CSA 30 sufficiently in advance of the expiration of the term established for this rate increase to assure that changes to the new water service rates, whether a decrease or an increase, are able to put in place an expiration of service rates, the term established for this rate increase. Or D, if the Board finds that there is a majority protest against the proposal for such increases in the water service fees for CS 30 El Provenir, make the determination that there is such majority protest and abandon the proceedings regarding the proposal for such increases in the water service and direct department to hold a future public meeting with property owners and tenants receiving water services from CSA 30, recommending immediate cost-saving steps that include but are not limited to encouraging water conservation.
Yeah. I was going to ask her to repeat it.
Good morning, board members. Chris Bump with the Department of Public Works and Planning. The item before you today is a protest hearing for restructuring fees for County Service Area 30 El Porvenir water users. CSA 30 currently purchases surface water that is then treated and delivered to each connection. However, the system is part of an ongoing state-funded project to transition to groundwater wells that requires a rate be implemented that is sufficient to fund the system. The proposed restructured water fees are comprised of a base fee and a variable fee, which includes an operation and maintenance portion and also a commodity fee portion. The proposed rate is intended to fund the operation and maintenance of the system, raise an appropriate reserve, and pay back unpaid charges. The commodity fee portion is the cost to purchase untreated surface water and will change depending on the actual cost from the water provider. At the conclusion of staff's presentation and after addressing any questions your board may have, the public portion of the hearing should be opened by your board and testimony received from those here today wishing to address your board. At the conclusion of the public protest hearing, staff will tabulate the protest letters and report back to your board the results. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any board members who have questions or comments?
Yeah, Chris, is this, as Bernice was reading about a third the way through, I kind of glazed over. Is this raising fees at all in CSA 30?
This is restructuring the way they are done. It does raise the fee, but there is also state funding that's being looked at that would help bring that fee back down for the end user.
Oh, okay. But the state funding is not guaranteed?
No, not until the actual agreement's signed.
Oh, okay. Is it guaranteed once an agreement is signed?
Correct.
Oh, all right. That's good to know. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay. Anytime prior to the close of the protest hearing, property owners wishing to submit a letter of protest or to change or withdraw their earlier submitted letter of protest may make that request to the office of the clerk at the window outside the board chambers. No letters of protests will be accepted and no withdrawals will be allowed after the protest hearing has been closed. No staff except the clerk's deputies may accept a letter of protest. The public portion of this protest is now open. Yes, please come forward.
Would we have to protest that and just look it up a little bit more? I'd like to look more into that, just to see what the structuring fees would be.
So the protest would have to be submitted. So if you're a resident of CSA 30 and a customer of the water system, you'd have to submit it by this point right now.
Today.
Correct. Again, this is just for CSA 30 El Porvenir water.
She doesn't even live there.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
So can public comment on this?
come forward, please.
I don't know if I'm a resident within that area, but I do consider water a serious human right. So if there are fee increases, I'd expect the county to do outreach and let the people in the area really know what's going on with the water and any increases. And yeah, and not like pretend that any gray area of potential should be outlined. Anyway, I just hope that the county always does outreach and like serious outreach, and because not everyone can get here, it's a limited time to comment, and that's all. I don't know if I'm in that area, but I just hope the county realizes that's a major human right, and people might not be able to afford increases. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning. My name is Mariana Alvarenga, and I'm here with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. Before and during the Prop 218 process, residents have shared their concern with the proposed water rates with county staff. It is a big concern because approving the proposed water rates will create a tremendous financial burden for residents who rely on fixed incomes. The proposed water rates start at $287 per month base rate for the first year. $287. Although the State Water Board has committed to subsidize water rates, and residents are extremely appreciative of this help, residents recognize that the rates are still going to be unaffordable, and this is a fear that they have. However, the fear of not getting assistance from the State Water Board if rates are not approved and seeing the debt continue to grow is a greater fear, and no one should be put in that position. I want to remind the board that the community debt is not a result of residents not paying their bill, but rather the inability of the system to generate enough revenue to cover operation and maintenance costs. Residents are not asking to get their water bill waived. They are simply asking for affordable water rates. The county has the ability to convert the community water debt into a loan and then take a vote to forgive the loan because the repayment of the loan will result in an economic hardship. Residents have come before this board to express their concerns with their proposed water rates and have asked for creative ways to help reduce rates. For example, the county can invest in solar as a sustainable water technology to help reduce water rates and commit to look at other ways to reduce system costs. If rates are approved today, we ask the county to prepare another Prop 218 process before the 5th year to reevaluate rates and ensure rates are presented and ensure residents are presented with affordable rates once the debt is forgiven or paid off. Today, we urge the board to take actions that will create affordable drinking water rates for a community that greatly needs this to happen. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion and a second to close the public portion of this protest hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public portion of the hearing.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. The motion is approved and the public portion of the protest hearing is now closed. Tabulation of the letters of protest will now take place. Members of the public wishing to observe the tabulation process are welcome to accompany the staff.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, there are 2 envelopes that I'm handing over to Public Works and Planning.
Can you repeat that again a little
I
bit
have
louder?
two protest envelopes, and I'll be handing that over to Public Works and Planning staff to tabulate.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, while they are tabulating, can we just address item 85 from consent that you pull to register a no vote? Item 85, under Social Services, pulled by Chairman Quintero to register a no vote. Approve and authorize the chairman to execute agreement with United Health Centers of the San Joaquin Valley for mental health employability services, effective July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2026.
Okay, I registered a no vote. My concerns were basically number 85 with the manner of which, not so much the manner of the process, but more, not a more complete explanation as to why one organization was chosen over one that had been administering the contracts without any concerns of their contracts. So that was my reason for voting no. So with that,
No, we're going to address that.
okay.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm available for questions on the item.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to register a no vote.
Do you want them to move it so you can record it? I think the clerk wasn't clear that we were actually handling that as a separate motion, and she would like a motion and a,
He actually, the chairman actually
On that
pulled
item.
the item, and that's why
For
we're
a no vote?
now for a no vote.
You got the wagon way out in front of the horse here.
Okay.
well, I just, so she would just like you to bring that item up and vote on it so that the vote is clear on that item.
Okay. Well, I made my reasons known, so that should be good enough. Is there a motion to approve item number 85?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve item number 85.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I vote no.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Staff should be coming out shortly, but
We can continue to the next item, clerk.
yeah.
no?
So item number 9, Board of Supervisor Committee reports and comments.
Okay, now, item number 9, Supervisor Committee reports and comments. Any? Okay.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Like, go ahead. You want-
Just a general update. Here is, June is closing out FSERA, which is our retirement board. That is our fiscal year from July 1 till the end of June. And it is questionable on whether or not we're going to meet our discount rate, our assumed rate of return, which right now is about 6.5%. So we missed it last year, and if we miss it another 2 years, what will happen is that will begin to be reflected in our rates. Right now, we're in a period of time where our rates are falling because we amortize our unfunded liabilities over the course of 15 years. And but what will happen when we don't make the assumed rate of return over a period of time, eventually we have to pay for that. And so just because right now our rates have fallen a little bit, if the markets don't improve and if we don't make that 6.5% in the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to have an impact on our budget. We're going to begin to see our rates that we pay FSERA increase. So just something I wanted to share with all of you because it is concerning to me.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to report out that flood release on both the San Joaquin and the Kings have come down. The Kings is, as of last night, there was a new order to lower the actual target numbers that they're actually putting out at the end. And that's what bases everything, what goes to the North Fork, what goes to the South Fork. South Fork is, for a whole week, has been at 0 in irrigation demand only. And the target number for the North Fork, as of last night, was to get it down to 2950. And this is from the 4750 originally, what the maximum target rates were. So things keep looking better and better every day. and there's still a lot of room in the reservoir, so hopefully when they get down to 0 flood release, the lake will be full. So that's what I got to report.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, if all comments have been received and recorded, staff from Public Works and Planning is ready to report out the results of the tabulation for item 8.
Okay.
Chris Bump, Department of Public Works and Planning. Staff has completed counting the ballots, and out of a possible 56 protests, we have received 2. There is not a majority protest, and staff recommend your board approve recommended actions A, B, and C.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Brandau?
Yeah, Chris, for some of these folks who might not have ever seen a Prop 218 process and talking about community involvement and notification and that kind of stuff, I mean, can you give us a Reader's Digest version, like 2 minutes or less, about what happens and what's happening today?
Yeah, so, and one thing to keep in mind, when we do these special district Prop 218s, they're for a very specific area and a very specific service. In this case, CSA 30, El Porvenir, and for water services. We send out a 45-day notice that outlines the rate, why the rate is needed. And then we also typically have a meeting before that 45-day notice goes out and prior to the board hearing. So there was, for example, a community meeting last week. In the case of El Porvenir, it was at El Porvenir Park, which is right in the middle of the community. And this is actually an ongoing topic. So the community has been well aware of this process for quite a while.
All right, and then the part about everybody gets to vote or?
Correct. In the case of this, it's everyone has the opportunity to protest, and you need 50% plus 1 protests in order for a majority protest to occur. So in this case, with 2, there wasn't a majority protest.
And they don't have to be here. They can send that in.
Right, yep. Thank you.
What was the total number of eligible votes?
59?
59. So 2 out of 59 voted no.
Correct.
Pretty strong majority that want to see this go through to continue their water. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Chairman, with that explanation and all that discussion, I'd make a motion to accept staff's recommendation for items A, B, and C.
Second that.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
We now move to item number 10, board appointments.
Okay. Supervisor Brandau, board appointments?
None today, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. For myself, Jennifer Monreal, who I nominated and was appointed to the Behavioral Health Board on May 23rd, has declined comment. And with the no other comments from the board, are there any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the appointments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
We now move to item number 11, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on this agenda.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Hebert. I've only been here once before, so this is all kind of new to me. So I appreciate you letting us come before you today, and I have a concern regarding voting machines in Fresno County. I'm sure you're all aware of the ongoing debate between those who say there is no way that a machine can be hacked and those that say there is a way that machines can be hacked. And Shasta County is the first county that is doing away with Dominion machines. They voted on it in January, and it's approved now as of May, and they are going to get rid of the machines, go to hand count paper ballots. And this article, I have an article from June 14th from Shasta County as I said, they approved this in January. In February, Sacramento Congress, I don't know if I think he's Assembly, Pellerin, introduced, it's a Senate bill, introduced a bill to prohibit election officials from performing a manual count. So a month after Shasta County said they were going with a hand count, this bill is introduced in the Senate saying it is prohibited to do a hand count. So I have a concern for Fresno County. If the state is going to take away our rights to run our elections the way we see fit here in Fresno, that really disturbs me. And I'm sure some of you have heard about the Haldeman report that just came out, unredacted, June 20th, I believe, or not 20th, 14th, I think. Anyway, his analysis was very thorough of how voting machines can be hacked. This is going back to 2006 when Hacking Democracy was a documentary that was put over several cable channels and things. And then Kill Chain, which was released in 2019, which showed with these experts, and Haldeman, Professor Haldeman was included in Kill Chain, of how machines are easily hacked, how they connect with each other. Even if there's no internet connection, they can connect with one another and malware can spread from one machine to another. So this evidence here is out for everyone to see, but there are certain people that don't want us to know that. And so I'm really disturbed by this Senate bill. It's Senate bill, or Assembly Bill 969. If you would like a reference, I could email this to you. I found this on the California legislative website. So I have ample information if you would like any of these documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Hello. So for elections, there were concerns prior to, in many elections, about many methods, actually starting in California, ballot harvesting.
I'm sorry, can you state your name, please?
Oh, Jennifer McLean Romero,
Thank you.
resident in Fresno County. So I guess we want elections on one day, paper ballots, or, counted legitimately, accurately in one day, and one-day voting. The ballot harvesting, the connection of them, any machine that even our Register of Voters within Fresno County does not have control over is not safe. You can't make sure that the election is valid. So we have rights as people live in the United States of America that are guaranteed under the Constitution and Bill of Rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So the county board is responsible for guaranteeing that. No regulations, no laws by even our state people can negate that. We don't, if this county operates solely based on money and as a corporation, it needs to be put out to the public that they know that. You're either being false or you're not guaranteeing people's rights. And before the some elections, there's an executive order, federal executive order, imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. It's Executive Order 13848. It was issued by Donald Trump when he was president. So elections have been investigated. I do think there's a lot of data that the public has not received yet due to it being, I don't know, just investigated maybe by the military or separately, and also the public not getting correct information. The media doesn't tell us the truth, and anything you guys know that doesn't support people having their rights, going against that, you're culpable too as representatives. Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning.
My name is Patty Cassio. I am a Board of Directors with the Fresno County, California Republican Assembly, VP with the Clovis Fresno Evening Republican Women's Federated, and I also host Liberty Lunches Weekly in Clovis. We, as a concerned citizen of Fresno County, I do ask that you consider removing the voting machines. And we want a free, fair, and transparent, election. We want a one-day voting on paper, hand counted, and results the same day. No voting machines that can be rigged and manipulated. And the reasons are a large majority of the public no longer trusts our election system. Continued use of these systems is discouraged. Our citizens from voting The continued use of these systems is discouraging our citizens from voting and is diminishing trust in their elected officials. We need to get more people encouraged to come out and vote, that their votes are actually going to be counted the way that they vote. The Election Assistance Commission and the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Administration are federal agencies that have publicly acknowledged that the Dominion election equipment does not meet federal requirements. The Halderman Report, which demonstrates the vulnerability of all current electronic systems in use, including Dominion, was presented in a Georgia court in 2021, and the report was nationally affirmed by the CISA soon after. The Dominion election equipment we currently use is capable of connecting to the internet, as confirmed by the county IT professionals. If it is impossible to secure our current election equipment, as indicated by the Halderman Report and affirmed by CISA, then we should not be using it. Our citizens, therefore, have good reason for not trusting our current election system because it is not transparent and is not possible to secure. We would be the second county in California to cease Dominion equipment in our elections following Shasta County's recent decision to end their contract with Dominion. So basically, bottom line, I apologize. We basically want a free and fair and transparent election. We want our votes counted, one person, one vote, paper ballots, hand counting, same day results, and voter ID. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Hello. My name is Glenda Green. I'm from Fresno. I am a county resident representative of the state of New California, a We the People movement for the preservation of the republic guaranteed to citizens by the United States Constitution, Article 4, Section 4. By this letter, which I am reading, and you've all received a copy of, I am notifying the County Board of Supervisors today that they must first and foremost prioritize protecting our national security during any future elections. It must comply with implementation of security measures to protect our sovereign right to each eligible citizen to have authentic outcome when casting a vote. Back in 2017, the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security issued a statement clearly designating elections infrastructure as critical. It is critical because they have a major impact on national security. You've all got a copy. I just want to let you know, too, that that many of the machines are made with components that are made by adversaries to the United States. It is important that we have, without a fair and solid election, we have no voice. You are representative of we the people. California, according to California legislatures, Election Code Article 5, manual vote count is in fact preferred. Alexander Hubbard Bush, an election attorney with the Lex Rex Institute, dedicated to transparency and accountability in government, stated that according to California Election Code, hand counting is legal and preferred. It is basically the gold standard. I'm old enough to remember the days that we came in and did one-day voting, and by the 11 o'clock news that night, you knew you had the results. Now we're voting 29 days ahead, and by 30 days after, with these machines, we still don't know the results half the time. It's common sense, and being we're talking about budget, it would cost way less. We got millions of dollars being spent on elections when we could do it for far cheaper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Joe Rusomano. I'd like to just share a few thoughts with you. It's not a court of law, so I'm not going to present evidence and so on, stuff of that nature, documentation, of which there's a whole body of stuff that people have. I just want to spend a few seconds and just talk with you, just man-to-man kind of a thing. So my father was in a Nazi prison camp. He was with Patton, and he got captured. He did a little reconnaissance work, jumped out of his armored vehicle. By the time he got back, everybody was gone, and he had a gun battle, and he got banged up pretty good, lost his eye. My dad had one eye. That's how I knew him. Bullet in his shoulder. They took it out in 1964. I was there. 20 years he carried that bullet. He had all shrapnel on his legs. He was shot in his butt. He did a year in a prison camp. It's a wonder that he survived. Anyway, so Nazi Germany was always a big conversation part in our home. One of the things that always impressed me was, Dad, how in the world did the German people that gave birth to the Reformation and changed the entire world for the better and set a high standard with the introduction of the Bible and freed up the people through theology, and civilization took a turn for the better from that point on. How did that culture turn into Nazism? I never understood that. I didn't care about Panzer tanks and Bismarcks and all that stuff. I didn't care much about the armaments. The thing that always fascinated me was, how do you get a culture of people to give up their lives? Instead of go home to your wife and kids, you say, you know what, let's go take the world over. In fact, let's destroy people. Well, it happens a little at a time. And people, everywhere I go, people say it's happening here. They believe they're living in 1933 Germany. They believe they're living in the fall of the Roman Empire. Everybody I talk to says the same thing. Perhaps you do too. The sun's shining, flowers are growing, it looks nice out, but we got the borders wide open. People are pouring across the borders. Thuggery has become the currency today. Lying, deceit, when that becomes the currency, and when it's institutionalized, when cheating and so on becomes institutionalized, guess what? People use it. And when they use it, we all will experience it. We're not free at that point. I'm free to walk down the street, but I'm not free to go off to work and do what I'm doing and keep the rewards of my efforts, because I feel like it's going to be taken away. So life starts to turn gray and dark, and we look over our shoulder, and that's where we're at. And the voting is the essence of who we are. That's what put us at the top of the history, was that we're free people, and we're losing it. Everybody I know believes we're living in 1933 Germany. We're watching it disintegrate. Don't let it happen, guys. Voting is important, and these ladies did this tremendous work. There's so much evidence. If we lose our voting, and it appears we believe we have, many of us believe that. I know so many people who don't vote. They just quit. They won't vote.
Thank you, sir.
And perhaps you know them too.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Good morning, board. My name is Sean Burdine. Kind of come here pretty often, don't usually speak though. In addition to coming here regularly, I also attend many other local government functions, city council, school board. Also closely follow what happens in Sacramento and DC.
And it's very easy to be very discouraged by everything we're seeing. A lot of the stuff I know, you guys hear the same Sacramento reports that I do, and it's very clear that things are not only just difficult right now, but very likely to get more difficult in the future. But one of the things that keeps me coming back to this board is I actually see a lot of hope here. I see that this board actually functions as all of us would expect and hope our representative government to work. And that really is the key and linchpin to all of this. As part of coming here so much, I really have seen on numerous times much concern and intelligence and wisdom and just being very responsible to what your constituents have to say and what the truth is of the matter, regardless of what narratives might be spoken out there. And I hope that each of you continues to feel that way on this matter. I know there's a lot of heated debate when it comes to that, but in addition to all those other things that I do, one of my primary focuses really has been on the topic of election integrity. Over the last 3 major election cycles, I served as assistant coordinator and then coordinator for Election Integrity Project California, which has been doing amazing work for over a decade, documenting all of the problems that have been ongoing. I have spent countless hours watching our own local elections from every step of the process, watching how everything has changed over time, watching every single step. You can go down and look at the records of who's going down to the warehouse and watching the processing. I'm in that book almost every single day, at least once a day. During the end of each election cycle, I'm usually there multiple times a day, watching the intake, watching every step of the process. And I still tapped into various networks throughout the state and county. I've done presentations locally and in other counties also on this topic. The issue with the machines are legitimate, and I sincerely hope each of you takes that to heart. If you haven't looked into it before, I can understand why, because it is a very contested issue. It's a very difficult one to unravel. There's lots of voices coming at you from all directions, and one of the things you said recently, Representative, our board member Chaco, really resonated with me, where you said that, you know, it feels like you get attacked from all directions all the time, and I feel like this is another one of those issues that will be the case. But I sincerely hope that you and every other board member really does take a good look at this. And I think a great place to look at that would be the Halderman report that was brought up. It was one of those topics that was for discussion a couple years ago, but in light of the unredacted papers coming out, there's a wealth of information. And then also I would formally like to, in the future, submit my own personal findings report as just an independent, nonpartisan. I'm not connected to any organization, party, group, or whatever at this time, but I would like to show my findings and explain why I think we can have room for improvement in our current
Thank
system.
you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make note on the record that we're in 17 minutes into the same topic, but I leave it to the board whether you
Yes,
wish.
we only allow 15 minutes for the same topic to be discussed and 3 minutes per person. I'm sorry, it's.
Mine's not exactly the same topic. It's nothing that anybody else has said.
Okay.
So,
Are you
my
sure?
name is Gina Delara, and I'm a resident of Fresno County. I have been working I've had a meeting with 2 of our Board of Supervisors here and multiple interactions with our Register of Voters. And we've been working for a very long time. The burden of proof has been put on us, we the people, to give you evidence of the inconsistencies at least, and the proof of there has been voter fraud. And we have
So
collected
it's the
it.
same topic.
No, it's not. Can I finish?
Yes.
Okay. So you've already been given the instance of the Halderman report. You've also been given the information on the Executive Order 13848. So I would like our Board of Supervisors to become knowledgeable of these things in order to make better decisions on what type of voting systems we use. As our elected officials, we need you to do your due diligence, as we have done, a lot of us that aren't even here today. And the polls are showing that there's a majority of the public who do not trust the way the elections are run and feel disenfranchised. It stands to reason that you would want to make yourselves knowledgeable on all these facts. not put it on us as a burden of proof. We were given by Sheriff Mims, we were told we needed 100 pieces of evidence. We've turned in 38, we've gathered more. We understand that we need to give it to everybody, not just give it to the sheriff. Now, my understanding is Sheriff Zanoni has asked for at least 200 or 250 pieces of evidence now. So we have been working on this for well over a year. We have got a multitude of expert witnesses that would like to come and speak to our county officials and explain to them. And we have not been able to get that together. And we have paid for multiple speakers to come in and educate us at different times. And a lot of you, if not all of you, to the best of my understanding, have been reached out to, asked to attend, and I believe maybe you have attended one, not that we have put on, but a different one. And the interest just doesn't seem to be there to make your constituents satisfied. And that's just not okay. In the CISA report that just came out, and it's a Democratic report, it's not a conservative report.
Thank you.
There's 9 severe vulnerabilities.
Sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Did you listen to me?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, I guess it's on public record then that I'm asking all of you to
Thank you.
make yourself more knowledgeable
Thank
on the
you.
information that's able, and our expert witnesses that are willing.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have
I'm
paid
sorry.
to
Your
come in.
time is up.
Doesn't
Thank
sound
you.
like you're listening.
Okay. Is there any comments from the public wishing to address the board on the closed session items? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Cedarboard, County Council, will we have anything to report out, or can we adjourn following closed session?
Mr. Chairman, we are not anticipating any announcements out following closed session, so it would be appropriate if the board chooses to adjourn following closed session.
Okay, for myself, for closed session item number 15, I will recuse myself.
All right.
Thank you. Okay. And will we have anything to report out or adjourn following closed session?
So you may entertain a motion at this time to adjourn following closed session.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion and a second to adjourn following closed session.
Motion to adjourn following closed session.
All in favor? First and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.